Thank you so much for meeting with me today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thanks. I'm excited to talk.
First, could you tell me what you do for your work as an audio producer and engineer?
Yeah, so I do music composition and sound design, kind of as one package. And uh, I'm generally making things for um, interactive digital platforms. So that could be apps on any device, or it could be a game on devices as well. Um, and so generally people um, hire me to make the music when that's necessary, and also create the sounds that are either part of the environment or part of the user interface. So that could be like, when you press a button, it makes a certain sound. When certain things happen, sounds help inform the user what's going on. Um, so I kind of create the whole audio package for a given, use case, like an app or a game.
Um, could you tell me when did you discover your interest in sound design and how did it grow over time?
Well, it grew, I guess, I found my interest in it when I first got hired to do it. I was not initially setting out to do it, but an opportunity to work on a series of educational games came my way. And in addition to music, they said, we want someone to make the sounds that go along, with the play of this game. So I just kind of figured it out, and it just became uh, an integral part of kind of what I could offer people who were creating digital stuff. Um, and it turns out that it was, fun to learn and fun to do as well. So um yeah, I just kind of took it from there and kept doing it.
When did you find your interest in music and composition?
That came a little earlier in my life. That was like kind of an outcropping of a general interest in music for most of my life. I played piano as a kid. I always, I don't know, I guess kind of took music seriously, like many, whatever people do. And then I started DJing as well, and getting interested in music that was made in a kind of modern electronic way. Um, and so I started trying to figure out how this music that I was interested in listening to and playing as a DJ, how it was made. And the interest just developed over years of like trying to figure stuff out and wanting to make things that sounded like the things that I liked listening to.
What was your strategy for applying to college? Did you have any target schools or programs in mind, and were they looking for any specific qualities?
I didn't. I mean, because most of this, in terms of like thinking of this as something I would do career wise, came while I was already in college. That is like, I didn't start DJing until I was in college already. So I didn't go into college thinking about music particularly. I mean, I guess the only exception is I went to a college called Oberlin in Ohio, and I was attracted to the fact that they had a conservatory there, and a kind of renowned music program. Even though I wasn't applying to that program, I knew that I would be able to take advantage of that program kind of on the side.
So what did you go to Oberlin for?
I went there for a kind of broad liberal arts education. And my actual major was history, believe it or not, which is not something I use professionally in almost any way.
What was your experience at Oberlin like? And like you said, you enjoyed taking some benefits from the conservatory, but was there another like good part about studying among like-minded students in the liberal arts?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there were lots of benefits of um, being around kind of, I guess, like broadly studying students, just because lots of smart people were around me who were interested in a wide array of disciplines. And I could learn from a lot from them. Oberlin was great. It had great teachers. I was able to take some music classes there, particularly ones geared toward, like I said, kind of modern takes on music creation. Um, things that involved uh, computers and that sort of thing, and synthesizers um, and yeah. So I mean, it offered a lot, and I definitely benefited from being around kids who were serious about music, and others who were serious about other stuff, but I could learn things from them too. So it was a very like broad palette of peers that I could absorb things from.
How challenging was it to find a job after graduation that you felt was good for you? Did you switch a couple times or did you just know that one thing was right?
Um, I switched around a lot. Uh, I immediately after graduation, I was lucky enough to get a job pretty quickly, um, in the music business. I worked at a couple of independent record labels, um, doing a variety of roles, but they were kind of all of this was, I guess, on the kind of business side of music. Um, and it was super interesting. I mean, I was glad to be around a lot of artists that I thought were great, and music producers that I thought were fantastic. And that kind of took me, I don't know, I guess for like 7 or 8 years after college. Um, and then I left doing record labels and started DJing more and got involved in theater and music, kind of as a combination. Um, and then around the time I became a dad, I was lucky enough to connect with some people that uh, wanted more of the type of work that I was describing at the beginning, which is like sound design, music composition. These were people who were putting together digital platforms, putting together games, things for iPads. iPads were actually like newish at the time, if you can wrap your head around that even. Um, yeah, and so that was kind of like a third phase-ish of my career, I guess.
Last question. Can you share a particularly challenging or transformative moment in your journey that influenced your development as a composer and engineer?
A transformative moment. I mean, I guess I I was always really passionate about music and music making. Um, but even when I was working at record labels, um, I didn't really think of myself as a music maker, and there were a lot of things I didn't know. So I can't give you one transformative moment. I would say that the learning process of figuring out that, you know, hey, I actually really want to do this. I have to figure it out. I have to learn a bunch of different skills, and the process of acquiring those skills, and also just believing that I could do it, um, was the most transformative process.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I'm also interested in like not just engineering like in sound design, but like producing music. Do you know anything like about mixing, DJing, like producing music? And do you have any advice for some people who want to take that path?
Yeah, I do. You know, I would say there's never been a better time in the history of the world to like try and do this, because um, almost anybody who has access to a computer can find access to some form of software that can help you make music however you want to do that and record it into some coherent package. So that could be kind of, the type of thing I do, which involves um, more instruments that are based on the computer, like, drums and electronic instruments that kind of are generated from the computer. But you could even be a acoustic guitarist and record yourself into your computer, and then, take that and layer your voice on top of it very easily. And so there are a lot of ways to do it. There are a lot of either very inexpensive or free ways to get access to the software to do it. Um, GarageBand comes to mind. I think like there's a program called Ableton Live, which I think has a free version. Most of these like recording software makers have some kind of free version or introductory level version. Um, so my advice is to just start doing it, and to literally take it as far as you can at every step, and then figure out what might be holding you back. And then, troubleshoot from there. But there's nothing stopping, almost nothing stopping anyone from jumping into this if they are interested in it. And I I would add that like you don't have to be, it's great if you're an instrumentalist and a trained musician on some level, but you don't even have to be. Um, so my advice is to start doing it as much as you can.
Thank you. This is so helpful. Um, it's such a pleasure to be meeting you today.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you, Mara. Thanks.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.